Do I feel willing to accept the failure of that, what happened to me? And when I was feeling that willingness to accept, outside of it being maybe an intellectual idea, which is more what forgiveness is, it's like a program to wipe clean some recent occurrence. It's more the acceptance of what happened that causes the process of going back before we were given that experience. And that then wipes clean the movie strip in our memory base. That then kind of returns us to the original state before any of the rubbish got dumped upon us. And how that shows up then in our life is that the original harmony got restored, and the ripple effects of that are just measurable through everything and everywhere, in ways that a single act of forgiveness is not necessarily traditionally able to do, in my own experience. Because forgiveness doesn't go into, do you feel willing to accept that what happened to you happened to you? Forgiveness is about, well, still doesn't feel good, but I'm willing to move along. I'm willing to move on. I'm willing to just get over it. And funnily enough, what happens is that which we just forgave somebody for, a month later, a year later, 10 years later, somebody else in a different event, in a different circumstance, is going to do pretty much exactly the same. And if we just practice forgiveness, we are practicing a very advanced form of coping, because we're not going to the original place where the hurt really sits. We're in the process of forgiveness. When somebody says, please forgive me, we're not going into ourselves and say, well, are you open to receive how it really affected me? Because this person is already being vulnerable. They're already putting their heart out on the table. Please forgive me. Please just wipe my conscience clean. And so we don't say, oh, forgiveness is so much more about other and setting them free than it is about freeing ourselves. And the freeing of ourselves in the process of forgiveness comes from going to the place before we were given this impactful experience. And that may sound a little bit intellectualized, but in our biology, there are unique processes that I have found language around that are more powerful and more realistic in how they help us actually reintegrate and really resolve and really restore the original blueprint, which I keep coming back to over and over again, the restoration of that blueprint, the restoration of the natural frequencies. And that comes about by feeling into that essential energy of not the trauma, so to speak, where non-acceptance of what happened still resides. And it's a beautiful mental tool, because whenever you hear yourself say this to yourselves, like, I'm not willing to accept that, it's like, oh no, I have a new definition around acceptance. That's interesting. Why is it that I don't feel willing to accept that? Well, that's not how it's supposed to be done, or that is no. And it's like, all right, well, am I willing to come into acceptance of what they did? And even if it's a small thing, acceptance of that which happened, that it happened, is so much more powerful than to say, well, I'm not accepting that what happened, but I'm willing to forgive it. It's like, did you therefore accept that it happened? No, I still don't accept that. I don't accept that in my reality. All right, well, if you say that to the universe, guess what? The universe is going to deliver for you. Oh, you ordered some more of that which you don't accept. Here's some more of that. And so I really just wanted to include that here. So there is an expansion of awareness, how language has so many limitations that are not easy to just unlicit. They're not easy to just uncover. They take time, but how I uncovered them is actually just communing with the selves. When I started asking, do you feel willing to forgive? And I had a part of selves like, of course not. You think I'm going to, well, it has nothing to do with him. I'm stuck with the pain. It's not about setting that person free. I want to become free. There's this idea that when we do forgiveness, acts of forgiveness, that we cut those cords to the people that and we set them free. Yeah, but what about your own freedom? Do you become more free emotionally? Because those ties emotionally to us are all performing a function with purpose for our own freedom, not for their freedom. But when we make it about us and ourselves and not about forgiving other, but we get to the forgiveness for ourselves before we were given something, the freedom is restored. And naturally, guess what? The people that prior to this awareness we were setting free, they're naturally let go of. They're naturally forgiven. They're naturally no longer performing a function with purpose for our own return to wholeness and to freedom.